This was a storybook. Two companies that are really literacy friendly, but not always pocketbook friendly, are eBoo. eBoo is a company that has a lot of toys and materials that are good and conducive to language and literacy development. And this is a Write Me a Storybook. And what the child does is they pick out stickers here that are kind of like quintessential things you find in your typical fairy tales. And they have paper back here. I guess my daughter did this one at some point. And so she has the castle and then the fairy and then the princess and then the queen. And so it kind of gives them a place to start for their writing. So eBoo has lots of good materials. They have a lot of bingos that have the print. I think we have a bingo game that has categories and it has the words printed on it. E-E-B-O-O, eBoo. And it's like when you go into the cute toy stores, like little boutique ones, they have a lot of eBoo stuff. My kids had these blocks when they were little that were cardboard, and there was a set of 10 like nesting blocks, and they had like questions on each side, like what color is a fire truck, and are you happy today, and just things like that, had the numbers on the top. I like to geek out over educational toys, I don't know. Chore charts are another way. Oh, there's even a little fake money in here, not sure. Slob. My daughter is a slob. So this is a chore chart, but this is another way to let your child do writing. They can just have these to play with. If they're playing house, they can give the kids they're playing with chore charts. You don't actually have to make them have a chore chart. I've never done that, and we've had them for years. They can just do it for fun to make a list of things they want to do that day. But it just has a lot of opportunities for writing on stuff like that. Melissa and Doug is probably one of my other favorite companies. Again, not pocketbook friendly, but good stuff. This was one of our favorite toys when our kids were little. It's called the Bake and Decorate Cupcake Set. And this toy actually, okay, terrible toy for cleaning. Dry erase marker does not come out of anything, so proceed with caution. But they come with 3 icing containers and then these little plastic covers for the cupcakes. And so like we used to be able to make cupcakes and then we would write happy birthday or Anne Marie or whatever, like they could write their messages, good luck. So whatever fake party we were having at our house, we could play and use these markers. So that's fun. And then you just erase them, you know. What else do we have? We talked about the police. These are called sentence strips, and most deaf kids whose parents are crazy grow up with these all over their house. And so we lived that life for several years with Ian. We would put everything on a sentence strip. We would have like words that kids don't always know in a home, like mantle. The mantle was labeled, the banister, things that I knew I wasn't getting to enough. I labeled a lot of things in the house. And then I labeled them with sentences because he was working on different structures. I don't know if you've seen these, but before the iPad, we had something simple like a boogie board, and we didn't have to worry about everything they were going to see on it. So you just write, and then you press this erase button, and it erases. So we had these in a couple different sizes. I don't know. What else? We talked about little notebooks, but did we talk about the power of a clipboard? If you give a kid a clipboard, they're going to want to write, because this is amazing. So we always had different size clipboards. When they play restaurant or store, we printed out menus or we printed out order forms for them to write down. My son used to keep his inventory of his pet shop on a clipboard. He would say how many mama bears he was getting in his next shipment. I don't know. He's the one in Alaska now, so you can see how this has always been a thing for him. He used to put little labels, and we'd cut them really small and wrap them around his little plastic animals so they could have names, you know, kind of thing. There's something about kids and locks because they have so many secret ideas. So bust out a diary. Amory, Matt and I were taking this out of her room last night. She said, what are you going to do with that? And Matt's like, your mom's going to tell them all of your deep thoughts. And really all that's in here, I think, are signatures from a trip to Disney. But it was cool because it had a lock. When we talk about practicing letters, I don't know if you guys have, these are pipe cleaners, and so we don't have wiki sticks anymore at our house, but we still had pipe cleaners. But these are something easy that they can use to practice shaping their different letters, and you can redo it, you know, like if you're at a restaurant. My favorite, I judge restaurants by their kids' meal toys. And Meatheads, have you been to Meatheads? What do they give the kids, you know? The little wax sticks, they're called wiki sticks, and that's amazing. So Meatheads gives the kids the little wax sticks, and they're kind of like this, only they're waxy, and then we can make words with them or make letters or whatever. And they can stick them on the window in the car when you're traveling, you know. I love Meatheads. Good job, Meatheads. Where's Meatheads? All over. Champaign, Bloomington, Hamburger, I mean, it's not healthy. It's like a hamburger and fries. Why you gotta be so judgy? It's south. It's like in the rest of Illinois. You know, we're people too. Okay, so we talked about that. We talked about the pointers. Oh, this clock, my very astute husband noticed yesterday that one of the reasons we loved this clock when our kids were little was because it has the word hour. This is Melissa and Doug, you know, my people. I think. Maybe it's not. Okay, it is? Yeah, give a shout out. But it also says, if you look carefully, it says o'clock, quarter past, half past, and quarter to. So that's all language we want them to understand, and we want them to be practicing. All right, I think we covered everything. You know, these books have gotten really nice and affordable for families and teachers to do for a class. So this is Evan's All About Me from A to Z book. So this is something about him for each letter. I think there was something mean in here about me. I can't remember. It's Evan, you know, the one who makes up the stories. So I wouldn't be surprised. My favorite dog is a Chihuahua, C-H-A-W-A-L-A, invented spelling. He's a bad speller, like his dad. I used to think it was because he was just growing up, but I don't know. He's almost 7. All right, so, oh, Evan. Maybe you'll get to meet him this week. Okay, this is after a Halloween party. My mom made the kids this book. This theme was like we did scary. Oh, that's me. I'm the witch. That's my husband. He's a vampire. Yeah. Okay. So just she put a little print in here, and so he was able to read this book. So these are really affordable. You can make them like in an hour now everywhere, like Walgreens and stuff. And teachers sometimes are nice enough to make them for you too. Oh, I'm sure you've seen art like this, like out and about in different cities that you visit, but this was like the original book where I found that before that became such a trend. But like looking for letters, like in structures of things, and kind of like when you're out on you can have a little scavenger hunt on your walk and try to find like here's an S in this column, you know, challenge them. So we used to do scavenger hunt. We just grabbed a bucket, and it was just a way for me to get to walk longer, and I fooled him into thinking it was something for him. And so we just would grab a bucket, and I would set some scavenger parameters, like we're going to find one thing that starts with every letter. We're going to find 3 things that rhyme today. We're going to find one thing that's each color of the rainbow. And so he spent the whole time like all busy. I like listened to my audiobook. We like, you know, and so that's, you can trick them into some work there. All right, I think that's about it. Did we cover everything? Zingo, great game. You should get it. Melissa and Doug, probably again for the win. The new light boards. All the Frost kids want a light board in their room. Evan just asked for one the other day. This is from a book club I had for my daughter and her friends. Apparently her batteries are dead. I don't know. All right, are we ready? We're all here? Moving on. Okay, somehow I made the slides do that on accident. I don't know, special talent. Okay, a question you probably won't be surprised to hear that we get a lot around here is reading different for deaf individuals? And the answer is very convenient, yes and no. You're welcome. So the reason it's a yes is obviously it's different. If you're not following a typical trajectory in your early learning years, maybe you went 2 years without amplification because you had a late diagnosis, or maybe you've been using signing and so your English isn't as advanced as your sign languages. Like you're bringing some different experience to the task of reading than a typically developing child. Maybe you were the one with all the ear infections, and so you had spotty hearing experiences. Like that does change you, and it does bring something different to the task of reading than is typical. No, reading is not different for deaf individuals because research shows, regardless of communication mode chosen for a deaf individual, the most successful deaf readers have found a way to extract that phonological information and kind of like break the code of the alphabetic principle and the phonology of English. So whether or not they were using ASL or sign English or cued speech or auditory verbal, the most successful deaf readers that have been researched have found a way to break the code. Whether or not we know how they're doing it is a different story, but they are aware of the sounds of English, the building blocks of English. Oh, and just a fun thought is sounds aren't really something that only we hear. They're They're units of thought. Phonemes are units of thought. You can sit here right now and think about the sounds of a word without me saying it to you. You can think about sound. So that's how deaf people that's how they can do that. You can just think about it. You just have to understand that it's a unit of thought. I know, you didn't even know we were going to get that deep today. Okay, nobody likes this slide. Nobody likes to talk about it, but until there's new research, I really can't change what it is that historically, since standardized testing has started, the average student who's deaf or hard of hearing, who's been researched, that particular group, with severe to profound hearing loss graduating from high school, so they're approximately age 18 at this point, are reading equivalent to how a third or fourth grader would be reading. Now that's an average. Obviously there are people doing better, and obviously there are people doing not as well, but this is the research we have. Remember though, I've told you all week that it's really hard to research deaf kids because they don't come in these little pockets. There's not just tons of them in a school program for us to get statistically significant outcomes. So I don't want to give it too much weight, but I also think that you have a right to be educated on what we do know about the outcomes. Annual growth rate has been documented to be approximately 2 months of growth for a year, a calendar year. So you can see what happens there. You go to school for 9 months, you gain 2 months, you stay home for 3 months. You probably don't gain any months then. Sometimes you do, but in the whole entire 12 months, if you've only gone up 2 months, so if you get 2 months in kindergarten and you get up 2 months better, and 2 months, I mean, think about what that does over the course of an education. You're going to get up to like 3rd grade. So some things to be aware of. Obviously, a lot of this research was done prior to all the technology we have today, but we're having a hard time getting new research. We're going to skip that. Okay, so this afternoon, this later session, we're going to talk about dialogic reading, and it's a type of shared reading between you and your child, an adult and a child. The adult has a role and the child has a role. So the adult's role with dialogic reading, some people say dialogic reading, I don't know, is an active listener and a questioner. So you're listening and engaging with the child, and you're asking questions of them, and you help the child become the one who's telling more of the story and reading and responding more about the story. The child is actively engaged, and they're responding to the prompts presented by the adult. Some tips for success when we're using this method of reading. We're going to use books with detailed pictures. So have you read that great new book, The Book with No Pictures? No? Nobody? Yeah, right? Right, we love that one, but we're not going to use it for this particular purpose. So we have it at home too. It's a great book. The kids love it, but we're not going to use it for this. So we need a book with detailed pictures. We're going to mix up the prompting or the questioning with reading. We're not going to make it be the humdrum, the same thing every time. We're going to we just talked about that. Mix up the prompting, the types of questions that we're going to ask. We're going to do it differently each time. We're going to follow the child's interest. So I brought the book that shows that I clearly have 3 sons and 1 daughter. Because at my house, I own this book. Go ahead, read the title for everybody.
The Butt Book.
The Butt Book. This book tells you all the different words for butt. So you're going to follow the child's interest. You're going to let them read about what they're interested in. You're going to let them engage with it with things that make them laugh. I don't think the Butt Book's that funny, but that was irrelevant. Okay, don't push your child with more prompts than he or she can handle. So we're going to talk about the prompts next, and of the types of prompting that we can do, there are a couple that are definitely more challenging. So we want to kind of stay in that comfortable, like we're challenging them, but we're not overwhelming and frustrating the child. So we want to stay in that nice middle ground. And we want to keep it fun. And again, that's why we're not going to do it right before bedtime, and we have 100 things to do around the house, and we need to finish the laundry, and we need to get ready for work, Okay, so we're going to learn 2 acronyms because, as I said the other day in the communication presentation, your life is full of acronyms now. So today's acronym is brought to you by the letters P, E, E, and R, PEER. And that's going to help you remember the words prompting, evaluating, expanding, and repeating. So those are the 4 actions you're going to take when you're doing this dialogic reading activity with your child. So prompting means you're going to prompt the child to label the objects and to talk about the story. So you're going to say something that prompts them to give you language. Evaluating means you're going to think about how they responded and consider what your next step would be. So what type of response did I just get? Where should I take it from here? Expanding means now that I've considered what kind of response I got from the child, I'm going to ask that the child expand the language they give me. If I got a one-word utterance, I'm going to push for 2. If I got a noun, I might add an adjective. If I got 3 words, I'm going to push for 5. So that's where we can all negotiate where our child is and what their next goal should be. So you're going to repeat what the child has said, and then you're going to add something to it. So this is the language the child presented. This is what you're going to repeat back to them is going to be a step up from that. Then you're going to have the child repeat what you said. Okay? So we have 4 letters. P, look, I'll highlight them. P-E-E-R. What's this one? Prompting. Evaluation. Expanding. Repeating. Good job. Okay, so here's an example. This is from maybe Big Fred's fire truck, something. I forget the title, but it's a book about Fred and the fire truck, I believe. So this is an example of peer. So I'll tell you what these little bubbles here, the orange is the parent and the blue is the child. So the parent said, "What is this?" So that's a prompt, so that's the P. The child responded with truck. The parent evaluated, that's right, gave themselves a minute to think about what they're going to do next. Then the parent says, it's a red fire truck. So they expanded. So the child gave us truck, the parent went back with red fire truck. Okay? Then the parent has another turn because now the parent's going to encourage the repeating. So we've had a prompt, we've had an evaluation, we've had an expanded language model, and now we're going to try to get the child to repeat. So can you say fire truck? Fire truck. So do you see what happened here? We had 1 word. What happened here? We gave 3 words and then we asked for 2 back. Whoa. Is this already how you read to your child? I mean, think about it. You probably do that sometimes, right? Okay. Sometimes we call things like mother-ese, like just natural ways moms and dads. It's just a word we use, mother-ese. No offense. Okay, so if we were doing this one, if we're looking at this picture, what might a prompt be? We want to ask them to label or respond to something. What? Who do you see? And the child, who wants to be the kid? The child might say, man. Okay, and then what's the parent supposed to do? They prompted. What's the next E? Evaluate. Evaluate. So they're going to say something to give feedback to the child, which might be, yes, good, you're right. Okay, and then they need to do the next E, which is expand. So we need to give an expanded language model. What could we say to expand on man? We don't want another prompt, we want a language expansion. So,
is that hat? I can't see.
So,
the man's wearing a hat.
Yes, it's a man with many hats. It's a man in a tuxedo. It's a man in a suit. It's a man sitting. Something that expands. And so then we've expanded, and now we need to do R, which is repeat. So we're going to prompt the child to repeat. So it's kind of like a PR. And so what would we say to prompt the child to repeat? Can you say the man is wearing a hat? Can you say the man is sitting by a tree? Whatever your prompt was. So good job. You did it. Nice peering. Apparently Ange is busy again. So this is a video. Let's hope that it's working today.
Hi, this is Whitney, and the video that I'm going to do today is on dialogic reading. I'm going to read the book Machines at Work by Byron Barton, and this is Braxton. He is going to be my helper today. You ready, Braxton?
Yeah.
Okay. Machines at Work. What kind of machines do you think we're going to see in this book?
A digger and a cement mixer and a crane and a roller.
Wow, you think we're going to see all of those in this book? Oh, that's very exciting.
Hey you guys.
Hey, you guys.
Let's get to work.
You're right. The next page said, let's get to work. So they're off to work and they're getting on their different machines.
Knock down that building.
You're right. They used a wrecking ball. Why are they going to knock down that building?
Because they're going to build a new one.
You're right, they're going to build a new building right there. Can't wait to see what it's going to look like. Bulldoze
That tree.
that tree. Oh, the driver's going to knock over the tree. There it goes. Dig up
that road.
that road. You're right. And look, they're using a jackhammer, and we saw the man down the street using
No,
a
they're
jackhammer.
using 2 jackhammers.
You're right, they're using 2 jackhammers. Like the man down the street, he did that on his driveway. Had to use it, it was very loud, made a lot of noise. Load that.
That truck.
Oh, what are they going to load the truck with? What are they loading?
Rubble and logs.
Rubble and logs from the tree. Dump that
Rubble.
rubble. You're right. She's getting out of the machine to make sure that it's all dumping where it's supposed to. All right. Now let's eat lunch. They're all eating their lunch. They look very hungry. They've been working very hard. Next,
dig a hole.
dig a hole. There they go. They're scooping up. She's looking down to make sure it's deep enough.
No, they're digging that rubble up.
You're right. They're digging up the rubble. Mix
Not cement.
the cement. What are they going to do with this cement that they're pouring out? This is the dirt in the wheelbarrows. What are they doing with the cement? It's going to be the what part of the building? Do you remember?
A sidewalk.
It could be a sidewalk or it could be the foundation, you're right, of the building. Lift that beam. They're starting to work on the new building.
Look, they're pushing it.
You're right, they're having to use their muscles and they're pushing the beam. Build
that building.
building. You're right. There they go. They're lifting the beam up to the men on the top of the structure. You think it's a house on top of the structure? What's going to happen next? What are they building now?
A road.
You're right. Build that
Road.
road.
Look, they built it the house.
You're right. It's behind the roller, so they must be making the road in front of the house. Okay.
Stop the machines. Let's.
Oh, why are they stopping the machines?
Because they're going home.
You're right. You were getting ready to say it was on the next page. Let's.
I think they're going home to take a nap.
You're right. They're very tired from working. They've worked hard all day. So there, it says, let's go home. What do they have in their hands?
Toolboxes.
Toolboxes. Those also could be their lunch boxes. Their empty lunch boxes. More work.
Tomorrow, let's count the machines. A bulldozer, a crane, a roller, and a cement truck, a digger, dump truck, and a loader.
You're right. All of those machines we talked about in the book. And what's going to happen tomorrow when they get back to work?
They're gonna dig.
You're right. They're going to dig and they're going to work more on the building. Did you see all of these machines yesterday on our trip when we came back home? We saw a lot of these machines, some moving and some on the side of the road, didn't we? Yep. All right. Well, Braxton, you did a great job, and can you wave bye to everybody? Bye.
Okay, so another part of the dialogic reading activity is we have peers, so we have the prompt, evaluate, expand, repeat. But we also need to know what types of prompts can we be asking. So we have crowd, because of course everything's an acronym. So we want to remember CROWD. Crowd, the C in crowd is for completion. These are the type of prompts that encourage the child to just finish the phrase in the sentence. So you're going to say the phrase and let them fill in, let's like fill in the blank. Okay, then R is for recall. Those are prompts that check their understanding of the story to make sure that they remember or can tell you back what had happened. Open-ended. Those are prompts that increase the amount. It's going to raise up the language expectation by focusing on details, encouraging a narrative response. So it's not like you can say yes or no or give one word. It's open-ended. They have to give you back much more language. So that's a more challenging prompt. WH. Pretty self-explanatory there. It's prompts that help teach new vocabulary and stimulate the use of language and new speech targets maybe that they're working on. So WH questions would be your guide there. And then this last one is the other one that's challenging. So we had open-ended is challenging. It's like linguistically demanding. And so is distancing. These are prompts that encourage the child to connect what the words and the pictures of the stories to something that they knew from their own experience. So to bring in another context and bring it together. So kind of getting farther from the book into their own other language experiences. Okay, are we ready? Hold on to your seats. We have examples. Okay, brown bear, brown bear. I'm pretty sure you've all heard the story. So a completion prop for brown bear would obviously be brown bear, what do you see? A recall prompt could be, what were some animals we met in this book? So I'm sticking in the book and I'm just checking to be sure that they can recall what we just read. So what kind of, we saw a red bird, we saw a brown bear, we saw a
Something horse.
it's a blue horse. It's a yellow duck, purple cat, black sheep, white dog, goldfish, and teacher. It's not an animal, but sometimes they might get confused and you could correct that, but the teacher's not an animal. Back to the prompt. I think, did we cover? We might have, green frog, we might have gotten all of them. I read it yesterday to the siblings. Okay, what the open-ended question could be here, what's your favorite animal? What do you like about it? So what's your favorite animal is kind of still a one-word answer, but if you add in that second part, what do you like about that animal, then you kind of increase the linguistic expectation that they give you more. WH questions, what animal is this? I would be pointing to a picture. Where does it live? What sound does it make? Some of those get a little bit away from the book, so you have to gauge if they know those things. Most kids know those things. Distancing, have you been to the zoo? What animals did you see at the zoo? So taking and making a connection to something further with distance from the book that's still related. All right. All right, we have one more video clip. Only like 24 minutes till lunch.
It was spring, Rabbit's favorite season. It was time to plan the garden, order carrot seeds, and look forward to enjoying his favorite food, carrot soup. Rabbit's favorite food is...
Carrot soup.
Everybody say it together.
Carrot
soup. Good. What is your favorite food?
Carrot soup.
Lily.
Noodles.
Noodles. Why are noodles your favorite food?
Well, I just like them.
You like them? Okay. Kelsey, what's your favorite food?
All the foods in the whole wide world.
All the foods in the whole wide world. Oh my goodness. Mariana?
Spaghetti meatballs.
Spaghetti and meatballs. Why is that your favorite?
Because I love it.
You love it. Let's see what Rabbit is going to do next with his carrots. You ready? Rabbit plowed and planted. Rabbit watered and weeded. He waited and waited and waited. Why is Rabbit waiting?
Because they have to grow.
I'm looking for something.
They
Oh,
have to
Alexis, I
grow.
see your hand. What is Rabbit waiting for?
The carrot soup.
He's waiting for the carrot soup. He's waiting for the carrot soup. I think there's more to add. Diego, what else can you tell me?
You need a special kind of plant food.
Special kind of plant food. What's the plant food for?
Water to grow.
To grow what?
The carrot.
That's right, to grow the carrots. Dog, someone has taken all of my carrots, said Rabbit. Have you seen them?
It's the cat. Cat.
What do you see?
The cat is still. The cat. The cat.
Christopher, you've been sitting so quietly. What do you see?
The cat. The cat has them on.
How did the cat get the carrots?
She the dog was away.
Christopher thinks the dog pulled them, or the cat pulled them up. Lily says the dog was away. So, which fish or which food did Duck say he likes better? Fish or carrots?
Carrot. Fish.
Danny.
Fish.
Fish. Philip, what did you say?
Fish.
Fish. So, if Duck prefers fish to carrots, then the word prefer must mean that he likes one thing better than another thing, right? I prefer carrots to fish. I like carrots better. But Duck likes fish better. How many people like fish better than carrots? Just show me your hand.
I like fish.
Fish. How many people like carrots better than fish?
Fish and carrots. Fish and
How many
carrots.
people like Kelsey like both fish and carrots?
I like both.
You like both?
I like
Everybody look at Rabbit's face.
sad.
Why does he feel that way, Alexis?
Because nobody was sharing the carrots with him.
Oh my goodness. And that makes him feel disappointed. Have you ever felt disappointed about anything?
Okay, so yeah, you want to look for the teachers that actually are that prepared for read aloud. I observed in a classroom this year, and the teacher was not here. I won't tell you where. The teacher was actually like getting ready to teach a reading lesson, and she was like doing one of these. Got it. Ready? Like, what are you doing? And you knew I was coming. So yeah, that's a really prepared teacher. I liked it. I don't like it when I see them grab the book and like be looking for some words. What can I teach them out of here? Okay, so now it's your turn. You probably are sick of listening to me talk. I'm sick of talking. So what you're going to do is I'll pass out some books, and you're going to work with the people at your table. You can either have 2 teams or you can just have 1. I don't care. And you have Post-it notes there, and you're going to prepare yourselves by doing this task, which means choosing a book and then writing prompts on the Post-it notes and placing them throughout your book. And you want to be sure you have the different types of prompts represented. Okay. Anyway, so let's come back together. Did anybody find a new book that they hadn't heard about that they thought was pretty good stuff? I pride myself on my book collection. I know. Okay, so we want somebody to share out about a prompt. Let's start with, we'll just go through the list. We'll start with our crowd acronym here. So we're going to start with the C, a completion prompt. So can someone share out a completion prompt? Go ahead.
Okay, so do you want me to?
I want you to read
Okay.
and then let us complete it.
Okay, so eyes and ears are much respected, but the butt has been neglected. We hope to change that here and now. Would the butt please take a...
Wow, yes. Okay, so that's letting the child finish the prompt from the rhyming, yep. Okay, a recall prompt. Who had a question that checks for understanding, to check to make sure the kid remembers what was read to them? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just asked what color did shoes turn?
Yes, what colors did Pete's shoes turn? Does anybody know an answer? Red. He steps in strawberries. He steps in the mud, so they turn brown. Yeah. So good question. Nice recall prompt. Open-ended prompt. We want one of those prompts is going to raise the linguistic expectation here. Yeah. There's a teacher in the back. What's a special ed teacher in the back? Oh, I would train on this.
We were at cats for sale, so the cats disappear after when he takes a nap. And so before you find out, what do you think happened to his hat?
What do you think happened to his hat? So the child's going to have to give you several words there. They're going to have to give a pretty advanced language sample to answer that question. Nice job, teacher. We always like the teachers in the room. Do you have another one? Oh, you want the next one? WH question? All right, get it, girl.
This book is saying about the 3 pigs.
The 3 pigs?
In the houses.
Mm-hmm.
So, asking the child the question, what did the first pig build the house with?
What did the first pig build the house with? Yep.
The second and the third.
Perfect. That's a great example. And so you can see how WH questions are also recall prompts. They're kind of the same. They're working together there. Okay, distancing prompts. So we want to have something that's further removed from the book that the child has to bring in their own vocabulary, background experiences, knowledge. Who has a distancing prompt? Okay.
Morning for animals.
Uh-huh.
That, what do we do when we wake up in the morning? What does our day look like?
Perfect. So the book's about the animals in their morning, and it's a grumpy morning for them. And she's asking her daughter, what does our morning look like? What's our morning routine? What's our morning attitude? Yes, perfect. Okay, do you have any questions about dialogic reading? Good, that's easy. All right, so let's just review. Peer is telling us 4 actions we're going to take, and what did that stand for? Prompting, evaluation of the language sample we got here, expanding. So we're giving a language model beyond that of which we receive from the child, and then repeating, and now we're prompting the child to repeat with the expanded. Can you only follow that process when you're working with a book?
No.
Where else can you do that process with your child? Anywhere, all the time, all the times, all the places, in the car, all the time. So you can always be following that where you're evaluating their response, you're expanding with your model, and then you're asking them to repeat. I mean, you don't want to be hounding them. I would hate to be one of those moms. Kidding, I totally am. Okay, crowd. Let's see, what's the C? So these are talking about the type of prompts we can use. Completion prompts. Recall prompts. Open-ended prompts. WH questions. And distancing. Which two of the prompts are going to be the most challenging and require the most language from the child? Open-ended and distancing. So we're going to be respectful of where they are on their journey and what they're ready for. So we want to make sure that we're getting them in that good zone of development, zone of proximal development, and not overdoing it and having too high of expectations, but not keeping things too easy for them. So we kind of want to work with the kid there. Meet them where they are and try to take them to the next place.
Excuse me.
All right, I think we actually finished early. So let me check if we have anything else here. We did it. Oh, well, you don't want to leave before you read the quote. I smashed the slide. I don't know. Children are made readers on the laps of their parents.